Hello and welcome to Frost Over the World. Later in the programme, Israel's Minister for Public Diplomacy on the private diplomatic row with London, Dublin and Paris over that assassination in Dubai. Then there's former South African rugby captain Francois Pienaar on being played on film by Matt Damon, and a new, startling new view really, of Adolf Hitler's mistress Eva Braun. Not a dumb blonde, after all? We hope to find out. But first, Georgia. The conflict of 2008 saw Georgia lose two regions to Russia, South Ossetia and Abkhazia. And when I interviewed Georgian President Mikheil Saakashvili soon afterwards, he vowed to get the territories back. But this week, Russia made that task even harder by agreeing to station a large, long-term military base in Abkhazia. So what can Georgia do now? Earlier this week, I was joined here in the studio by Georgia's President, Mikheil Saakashvili, and I put to him the fact that, faced with those new bases, he now has really no chance of getting those territories of his back.
Bad thing about what they are saying continuously is that basically they're menacing to take over the rest of Georgia. The good news is that Georgia is developing very fast on its own. Whatever the part of Georgia we control and Russia control 20% of it, depopulated. Most of the people voted with their feet. They fled from so-called liberating Russian troops. But Georgia has been developing lately at a higher pace, speed than Russia, than most of the countries in the region. Visuals have changed, have changed, people's attitudes have changed. So ultimately, that is the way to also to reunite the country. That is the way to get rid of the influence, provided that they don't kill this successful example. And so all the statements that in Georgia we're a democracy. The people talk about their children's education, their health care, their street, whether it should have loopholes or not. They don't talk or think a lot about Russia. If you switch on Russian television, if it's like big superpower Georgia all the time bugging this small besieged Russia that is under threat, and it would be very funny and you had the right reaction, except if it had not been dangerous, because they also have all these big troops, they have all these planes around us, they've already bombed us, they are menacing the whole region with nuclear weapons in their official doctrine. So you are really dealing with a situation which looks ridiculous, but might turn dangerous if people don't react to it. And when I talk about people, it's the West, Europe, America, and the rest of the community around us. I think the international community is much wider than the West these days.
So you think, Mr. President, then that you might get these two territories back, by example, by your economy, which has been praised by a lot of people, but that you'll never really be able to do it militarily?
Look, South Ossetia has almost no population left, because when Russians came in and they told us, oh, hello, we are here to basically chase out all the undesirable elements, which they did. But some of the you who are ethnically okay can stay. And those people who were ethnically Ossetian, they voted there with their feet. They fled with, retreating Georgian troops. So basically, it has less than 10,000 people left. And I can imagine the face of Medvedev when he has to receive once he officially is calling for demise of the Georgian government, which is a democratically elected country of 5 million people. He has to receive so-called leader of South Ossetia with red tape in the Kremlin and all these trumpets and troops. This should be quite humiliating, even if because formally he is still president of Russia, right? But on the other hand, this is not the issue for Georgia. For Georgia, the issue is something which I'm right now promoting in London, which is like we no longer play in post-Soviet league. Most of the post-Soviet countries, if you look at them, they are beyond 100 place in ease of doing business, in corruption issue. We are in top league together with lots of very advanced economies like Singapore, like Hong Kong, like Australia, UK, US, Denmark, Sweden. In terms of easiness of doing business, we are first fighter in the world with corruption. And if you look, we went up in 77 positions on Transparency International lists for the last 5 years period. That's since I've been president. And Russia went 77 positions down exactly the same period. We met somewhere in the middle. They didn't say hello to us. So I think Georgia is proving that you can be basically a free speech society, democracy.